Hi everyone and welcome to Back Chat. I'm Amy.
And I'm Maggie.
And together we are ThinkerThemer. And in this series we always rank our top 10 crowdfunding campaigns
most
of the
anticipated.
of the last 2 weeks. So they're always the ones that we are most excited about. And we also talk about the ones that we've backed or not and at what level. But let's just get straight into it this fortnight. So our number 10.
Our number 10 is a little game called One Card Wonder. Now, it seems like it's a very, very fast game.
Yes, I liked that about it actually. 15-20 minutes.
Yeah, and it's very, very simple. Essentially, you've got one card that you're trying to get enough resources to build, and I think most of them are a monument.
World wonder.
A world wonder. That's one. Okay,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I feel like with this game, I kind of get the sense of I love Cafe, and it's sort of like a similar, not gameplay wise, but just resource wise. It's like one very simple, straightforward kind of middle puzzle, and then you're actually using physical resources to track some of the things. And I know that you don't like the fiddliness, but I often do enjoy that element.
So you're dragging resources out of drafting. Oh, whatever.
You
Drawing. I was looking for drawing.
You may drag them out if they don't want to come out of the bag.
No, we're staying here.
Yeah.
We're drawing them out of the bag and then adding them to kind of groups of like resources, and then other people, if they want, can take all of one type when they are drafting them. And then the one thing is I was kind of interested from a resource kind of perspective. We love a dry euro. We love cube pushing. But then there's a bit of negotiation at 4+ players, I believe, where you can like exchange resources. I don't like that because no one trades with me. So yeah, that kind of had us out of the game. But I do think it's one to check out. It looks like a nice little filler.
Yeah.
And that's a number 10, One Card Wonder.
And we are backing or not backing?
Not backing.
We're not backing.
Yeah. Our number 9 is Canvas. Canvas Reflections, which is the expansion to a game that was delivered, I think, late last year.
What is
from
time?
Kickstarter.
What is
time?
Yesterday?
I don't know.
2 years ago? I don't know.
But we did back Canvas and we played Canvas and we talked about it on one of our episodes of Small Talk. We did really enjoy it, but we decided that it was probably a bit too light for us.
Light,
pretty light for us. But we really love the translucent kind of cards, the way that they come together, the way that you're creating your masterpiece.
Yeah, it's just an all-around pleasant experience.
It is.
It's just like, it just feels a little bit creative, and it feels like, I really enjoy it.
And the production value is so beautiful.
Very nicely
and
done.
like that was a really pleasant surprise, I think, for everyone who backed this game. And you can hang the box on the wall because there's no writing on it. And what I love about the expansion is it introduces a second box that completes that picture, which is really cute. So if you do have the base game hanging on the wall, you can add it next to it and create that landscape. And what it introduces into the game is actually a new player board and new cards, so more translucent cards that can be flipped, and you can use the reverse of the card, and it gives you kind of different options, I believe, to play with. For us, we haven't backed this one, and I think it's because it probably didn't add enough of. It didn't add more heavy elements that I really was craving as someone who thought it was a bit light.
I feel like it's not going to change the gameplay experience that much, even though they do have a new board and there's a couple of things kind of differently going on. Overall, you're still kind of looking to do the same thing. And so for me, it's like, it would add to the replayability, I'd say, if you love the core game. But again, because it's sort of a lighter one, I feel like I'm good with it.
Yeah, and to be honest, they were onto a winning formula, so why would you change it too much?
Why mess with it?
Why mess with it? But anyway, a little bit light for us, but that is one to check out if you had Canvas. Canvas Reflections. Maybe the base game was a bit hard to find as well after the Kickstarter, so if you could probably pick up the base game too, if you've been looking for it. And that's our number 9. Number 8 is Pletrix.
Is it Pletrix?
Pletrix.
Anyways, it's Tetris, but that was a roll and write. So I love polyomino tiles. I love cartographers is another like polyomino tile roll and write sort of thing.
Yes.
That's actually also quite thematic because you are like, which is, I really, really love that. This is a bit more Tetrix, not Tetris. See, they got me.
Pletrix.
Pletrix.
They got you. It's the branding.
Yeah, it's the branding. Tetris playing Tetris style, I am intrigued by because you have the different areas that you're trying to optimize the combos and trying to like completely fill out as much of it as possible. I enjoy that from a Tetris sort of point of view. I believe they probably can't say Tetris because it's copyright. So that's
Probably not. But Pletrix, it's in my head now.
Yeah.
But I think it's really interesting because you're actually playing simultaneously on 4 different play areas.
Yeah.
And you are rolling die to tell you which shapes you have to place and in which areas. And I think that's really cool. And I believe that some areas on one part of the board unlock shapes that you can use on the other boards. And for me, that's really clever. I think that we don't own a roll and write that's too Tetris-like. So you mentioned, other polyomino tile games, but I am a true Tetris lover.
She really is.
I really, really love Tetris. I used to have the Walkman in the 90s.
Oh, here we go.
In the 90s
with my
cassette tapes.
Yeah.
And on the front of it was Tetris. And so I'd be listening to a tape and playing Tetris, and it was the best time.
It's too cool.
It was the best.
Just too
so cool. Yeah. Yeah. I was a real winner. But I was really good at Tetris. And
still are.
Mickey's Magical Tetris on Sega Master System. Yeah. Amazing. Me and my sister love that.
Hot tip. You heard it here first.
And I also played Tetris on Oculus. Anyway.
That is excellent.
It is excellent. Anyway, we digress.
Yeah.
I love Tetris.
That made me cry. I cried playing that one.
It is beautiful.
One. It's
beautiful.
Like, that was the transcendental experience that I was hoping for.
Tetris.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go back to the game. So...
Back to Pletrix.
Yeah. I gave it a 7. Maggie gave it a 6. And that's because I do love Tetris so much. I would 100% be backing this if it wasn't for the case that it's actually quite expensive to get it to Australia. I think with shipping, it works out to be about $65. So for a small roll and write game, unfortunately, that makes it a bit prohibitive.
Yeah.
I hope it makes it to retail because this is one I really, 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 really do want to try. But that's our number 8. Pletrix.
No, yes, that's it. And number 7 now is cellulose. So cellulose is an interesting one because it's biology. I used to really enjoy biology. I love the colors, the bright colors and the kind of look and feel of the game. I love that it is a more fun way to step into and live the educational component of what, cell what cell metabolism is, so plant cell biology and all of that, and you get to learn about photosynthesis and what actually happens with the exchange of things. So
so you haven't clearly learned
I clearly
anything.
need to review or
the exchange
refresh
of things.
Well, yes, like there's like carbon dioxide with oxygen and things.
And how else does a plant work?
I learned all of this in Spanish, so I'm like trying to translate the words in my mind.
That's clearly it. Anyway, I really like the idea of experts in their field, bringing to gaming what they know and love, because that passion, I believe, always really shines through. And it's fun to learn about a new subject that you don't know much about. And I will be the first to admit to the fact that I did take biology at school and I did not enjoy it, but I really enjoyed the way that it was integrated with the mechanics here. I liked that it's worker placement. I like that there's that race to build the plant cell wall. That's really cool. And I really like the tech tree that is actually a plant tree. I mean, that's really clever. And I am intrigued to check this one out. I feel like I'm kind of borderline here. You gave it a 6 and I gave it a 7. So we're kind of edging towards backing. Haven't quite backed it yet, but would love to know what other people think. We've actually never played a game by this publisher.
Yeah.
But I know that they are known for these kind of more educational games. And it kind of does draw me in. I'd love to give it a go.
Yeah.
But that is our number 7, Cellulose.
Yeah.
And number 6 is a game that really drew Maggie in.
This looks so cute. It's called Transmissions, and it's the cutest little robots that I think I've seen in quite some time. So I think the artwork is beautiful, and just the table presence looks really stunning, just from from a illustrations point. And then the minis are also
The
like all
minis.
these cute little robots are just so adorable, and I just can't wait to like.
You don't paint, but you want to paint them.
I wanted to paint them. I'm like, oh yes, I can try and learn some of the rusted metal sort of techniques and things. So yeah, because even just the texture on the, it's yeah.
It is. It's really, really beautiful, actually. And
Yeah.
so the minis only come with the deluxe edition. So if you are looking to go in and get the minis, you need to back it at that higher level. I think most people are probably going to back it at that level to get the minis because they are really
Yeah, they're
amazing.
gorgeous, yeah.
And what you're trying to do is you're moving the robots around, and I believe on your player board you're collecting abilities that the different robots can do, because all of the robots are a shared kind of resource by everybody, and there's an element of set collection, and then you are also completing a pipe kind of puzzle as well along the way. And for me, the mechanics feels a little mechanically light. If you read through some of the quotes on the page and things, you can see that other reviewers who have tried the game are referring to it as a family-friendly kind of mid-lightweight kind of game. For that reason, I'm a little bit worried it's going to be a bit too light for us. But I think that you probably
I'm really looking forward to
back this on.
like playing with it and just like having it on the table. But what ends up happening, and this is where like being fiscally responsible is what ends up happening, is if it's too light, it doesn't matter how beautiful it is, it ends up only getting played a few times, and then it just sort of hits the shelf and never again. So
yeah, but the problem is waiting for retail is that I don't believe the deluxe edition is going to retail. So if you want those minis, got to get in now. So we will see. We haven't backed it yet, but we will see. Number 5 is a game called Florence, and Florence is the final game in the trilogy of Ragusa and then Venice and now Florence. And they refer to it as an opulent area control game. I really love that description. Opulence. And in this game, you will be trying to you can explain it thematically.
You're trying to wow the Medici family, and you're trying to be the sort of family in the best standing with the Medici by the end of the game. So you're trying to almost intercept or be at the places where you know the family members of the Medici family are going to be, so that you can kind of gain their favor and be there be there first and be there
because they're moving around as well.
They're moving around the board, and so you're kind of sending off your your family members to meet them. But then there's also this layer of like the gossip sort of side, and then like making sure that you're making a big deal of your own accomplishments so that you're kind of seen in a good light. So this is an interesting one for me, because like Florence is actually one, if not my favorite city, like in the entire world. And I haven't visited it in a long time, but I just remember it so fondly. Like a lot of people say Paris is their, it's the most beautiful city. I visited Paris in that same trip, and I just fell in love with Florence. And so much of it was actually, there was just this magic about it, and I just felt like it was like the culture, and like it's almost like you could feel the vibration in the walls or in the city of the amazing personalities, that historical figures, and the art that came out of that, the Renaissance and all of that sort of stuff. So that's just so beautiful and magical. And so it almost like I was a little bit disappointed that the theme of this game is not matching that. It's more like the gossipy, I'm climbing my way or making sure that my family's at the top, which is fine. It's just like, it was so close, and yet,
Well, I've never been, and so I quite appreciated the gift giving and the gossip and all of that, and the bribery. I thought that was kind of fun in this like opulent kind of world. For me, the thing holding me back on this game, probably the reason why it's number 5, is actually Venice, which is the previous game in this trilogy. We played it recently, and it wasn't a game for us actually. A couple of reasons. One of which was the design itself was a little clunky in that it was really hard to keep all your resources on your boat. You're constantly knocking over your gondola, and also the workers where they were placed on the board meant it covered the action iconography, and it just felt like it wasn't really well thought through from that perspective.
From a production point.
From a production standpoint, and it ran a little long. But what was kind of interesting about that is this is a completely different designer. So, the gameplay completely different. This is an area control game. That was a pick up and deliver game. So that's, kind of the designer aside, it's the same publisher. And that's kind of what concerns me, is that maybe a couple of those things should have been picked up along the way in the final production. So that's what's kind of taking the air out of my excitement a little bit for Florence. But otherwise, it looks like an interesting game that I probably, with this one, because of my Venice experience and backing that, I'll wait to check it out at retail after a few reviews come out. But that is 5. Florence. Number 4 is a game called Alter Ego. Alter.
Like the altar.
The altar.
Oh,
Here comes the accents.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Yeah. So in Alter Ego, you play as a god trying to get not necessarily the most followers, but a good enough level of followers and get the best altar built in your honor.
Like a physical altar.
So there's a dexterity component to this game. I absolutely love the little villages, like the illustrations or the actual meeples.
The artwork is really cute.
And then the artwork on the board, double layer board. I love that. I'm not usually, I feel like whenever there's a dexterity component in a game, it sort of makes it a little bit more light-hearted, because it's not then about, okay, I'm going to immerse myself in the strategy and like this element of more kind of playfulness. So that's fine. I always kind of do a little bit of face palm when you have this concept of gods competing for being like the most popular. But in this one, it's done in such a tongue-in-cheek way. Like it's very much kind of jokey and almost kind of so I don't mind that from that point of view.
And it is worker placement, I believe, at its core, which we do love. And the building the altar and like knocking your own over or someone else's over is kind of funny, and I think it will have a lot of table presence because of the beautiful artwork. So I'm more intrigued by this than I thought I would be.
Same.
When I was looking through it, I was like, yes, that does sound actually kind of fun. And it might get some of our lighter gamers into learning about worker placement, because we're always very sneaky about how we get them in because of the tower building. So I think it does look really cute. I really do want to check it out. I thought the tiering of the pledge, the different pledges that you could make were interesting, because the higher tier doesn't actually add anything to the gameplay. It adds a collectible coin and a puzzle of the main illustration. So most people, I think, will back it at that base pledge level, and it seems like pretty good value at that level. So I think we will back this one potentially. We haven't yet.
It's one of those games that I can see myself going, oh, what's that? If you're walking at a con and you're kind of, someone's playing and you're like, oh, and like, sort of sit by the sides, like looking at a game and having a giggle, and then kind of going, if you can just pick up a copy then and there.
Okay.
So it's probably going to come down to
I think I want shipping. It now. Can you just like put the stamp in, please?
Oh my goodness.
Backed.
Okay.
Number 3. Our number 3 is a game called Connecting Flights.
Yeah. So Connecting Flights, you're playing as different airlines, I guess. Yeah, they're
airline management.
And you're trying to create. Well, I like that you can play it cooperatively or competitively or even solo. And
I don't like that.
You don't like that?
No, I just want to jump in here. I don't like that. I want you to pick a lane.
No, well, there you go.
I want it to be competitive or cooperative.
And I'll tell you why I don't mind it with this game, because it sounds like when you're doing that, you're actually you're almost changing the angle of the game. So it's not like some games. It's like you can play it competitive or co-op, but it's the same game.
That's true. It did look very different.
Yeah. So it's almost like you get a couple of different games in one. So when you're playing competitively, this is the sense. Obviously, we haven't played it. It's just based on what we can tell from the campaign. You are trying to be the most efficient and like get the best connection. I love the chaining the cards together.
I love the chaining of the cards. Yeah, that is amazing. So if you haven't seen this in the campaign, the way that you can create a legitimate flight is to have a departure airport, a plane, a passenger, and then a arrival kind of airport, and they all have to connect together according to the fuel that the aeroplane needs, the stars on the passenger card, and the destination where they want to go. And so you are going to be building that out and adding additional flights to that flight path. And it's actually really it's really engaging when you look at it. I was like, what is this? This seems like it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So from that point, like I like that. I find that attractive. The co-op, as far as I understand it, the co-op, it's more like I get more the sense of a travel agent, and you've got this one or this sort of sets of passengers that want to get to a particular destination, and you have to just find the most optimal route for them. So it is almost like a couple of different games in one. So I'm intrigued by it.
I do admit that when I looked at the two different versions, I was like, wow, they're not just trying to make one game fit two different things. They're actually doing quite two different games for co-op and competitive.
Yeah.
And, I just said stick to your lane, but then thinking about it, we would only probably play it competitively, and there are going to be other people that would only play it cooperatively.
Yeah. I think the solo mode is probably going to be the co-op.
The co-op mode, but other people would only play it cooperatively. So at least then they're reaching more gamers, potentially.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is number 3. We haven't backed it, and that's purely because of the cost at the moment. So we're thinking about that.
Question mark.
It's a question mark. Our number 2.
Number 2 is It's a Wonderful Kingdom. So this is by the same, is it the same publishers as It's a Wonderful World, which we love. So that's a game that we
It's a Wonderful World.
It feels very similar in the, you're kind of building your engine so you can create all these or generate all these resources to then fulfill other things. There's a couple of changes in terms of the drafting. That's what the sense that I get of the cards. And I don't know what it's sort of like this whole tricking your opponent to try and take the card.
Yeah, so there's a phase in the draft called Split and Trap. And what you are doing is essentially offering cards to your opponent. This game is only for 2 players. So what they've done is they've taken the concepts from It's a Wonderful World and put them into a 2-player only design. And in this Split and Trap, you are trying to trick your opponent into taking cards that are going to have negative value to them. And I guess you do that by using trap tokens to confuse your opponent as to whether you're putting a trap there because it's something that you actually really want and you're trying to say, hey, this is maybe negative, or it is actually negative, and so there's the reverse psychology that you're using in order to get them to play that. I'm not sure how that would actually feel or play out, or whether we would enjoy that phase.
And I would say with this game, I'm actually not at all interested in that side of the, like in that element of the game. I'll check it out, but I'm actually more interested, like to me, because I love It's a Wonderful Life. It's a wonderful world. We always say it. We always say it's a wonderful life. It's a wonderful world so much. This I almost treat like it's another campaign. It's like with a reskin theme.
Yes.
And I actually prefer the It's a Wonderful World theme better.
Me too, yeah.
But I love how that one plays. So I'm keen to explore how this one plays.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this in the same way. It's highly ranked by us because it's a great core game. Like the mechanic is so clever. The way that the resources are triggered in a certain sequence means that you can kind of optimize the timing of when you build cards and when they're going to generate more resources to make you build more cards. I love that feeling, that combo feeling. But this game, kingdom kind of theme is less of interest to Maggie and I. But also, what I am intrigued about, I guess, is the different modules. So there are different modules that come with the base game. If you stretch to that Legends pack, the one with the sleeve on top of the box, you get a few more fancy things. You get the boxes that are great for storage, and they had that in the Wonderful World edition that we have. You get some wooden resources, I believe. You also get some additional modules, and one that includes a player board that I'm not quite sure, like I couldn't work out how. I tried to read the rules and the link wasn't working for some reason, but there's an additional module that comes with that higher pledge level. I am intrigued by all that, but at the same time, I wonder if it would stop me getting It's a Wonderful World out, because to me they feel like almost too similar to be 2 separate games, and we love It's a Wonderful World at 2 players, so it doesn't feel like it's broken at 2 players, or it needs more player interaction in any way. So I don't know. I don't know about backing it.
It's like, what is it adding to? Yeah. Like, that's what I feel like, because we haven't actually finished the campaigns, all of the campaigns.
Not all of them, no. Yeah.
So I think we've gone through 2. And so I feel like there's still more game with a better skin, or a skin that we
But also the option to play it with more people and to share it with more people. So I'm wondering about this one. If you're watching this and you are sure about It's a Wonderful Kingdom and you've got some great reasons why, please drop them in the comments. I want to be convinced. It's our number 2, so you can see how close we are. Please let us know It's a Wonderful Kingdom. And our number one is a surprise game that I did not know was coming, and I'm really excited about it, actually. I gave it an 8. Maggie gave it a 6. It's one of our more polarizing games of the fortnight, and that is the game Hidden Leaders. This is a small, relatively cheap, actually, card game, which at its core is has kind of a hidden objective, where you have a leader card that you're hidden away from other players, that has 2 different factions out of 4 shown on it that you could go after in terms of helping to win. And in the middle of the table is a very simple tug of war kind of scenario where you've got 2 icons or 2 meeple shapes representing 2 different factions, I believe, moving up and down on this slider, or moving left to right, and everybody is playing cards to influence that track to move them in different directions. And there are kind of 4 different factions who each have different win conditions, and at the end of the game, anyone who has one of those 2 factions on their leader card is in for the win, but ultimately you also need to have been playing hidden hero cards on your side of, into your player area that say, basically, this is the one that I'm truly backing out of the 2. And if you can guess right and manipulate the game enough to make that faction win, then you're going to be the winner.
Yeah. So I'd say the first thing that I really find attractive about this game is the artwork.
The artwork is great.
I absolutely love the artwork of this. If anything, the reason why my score is a bit on the lower side is the tug of war element, which I know you're really keen on. I'm like, I'm less keen on that. I am going through a bit of a cards phase, so I am quite looking forward to playing with those cards and exploring particularly the artwork through those cards. I want to see how that kind of the bluffing element of the leaders that I'm hiding, and how I try and manipulate the game so that, wherever it ends up in that tug of war, it's, beneficial.
And in some of the early reviews of the game, actually, people were saying it's quite easy to see what someone is going for, because that's the piece that they're manipulating on the board. But I think that depending on the player group that you're with, they might do things to, kind of deceive you to, you could play and make one of them kind of closer to a win condition that actually you're not that interested in before you turn things around. And I think that it comes down to the players. I feel like it's something that our friends would really be into, that idea of a secret identity and then manipulating the game state.
It also looks like it plays really quickly. So again, it's one of those games that you're going to be able to just very quickly kind of go, wow, that was fun. Okay, again. And so
with the artwork being so engaging and the board being so simple, I don't know, it just seems like something that would be really easy to teach. And so I'm really keen for Hidden Leaders. We will be backing this one. This is our number 1 of the fortnight. Hidden Leaders.
That is our list.
And that is our list for this fortnight. We should mention a couple of others that are on the list. Obviously, we do an extended video of this with the rest of the however many we looked at, 27.
We kind of cover some of them in more detail, but you get to sort of see where
our full ranking. But I will mention that's with our channel membership, but I will mention a couple of others. After the Empire was kind of just out of our top 10. That's on GameFound at the moment. I know a lot of people are excited about that. The version on GameFound does come with all of the minis, so check that out.
It's a lot of minis.
It's a lot of minis. Check it out if you're interested in that. For us, it's a game of tower defense and kind of
style usually.
Not really our style. Some other games, another one that is of that kind of feeling is Monster Hunter World, which is another game that is doing incredibly well at the moment. But for us, it was just something that we're just not into. Into that kind of battling is not our genre. Marvel United X-Men
is going to be huge.
Also doing extremely well. So if you're into these kind of fighting games, you're spending a lot of money this fortnight.
It's gonna be expensive.
Expensive fortnight. But again, that one, just because it's battling, rolling dice, all of the rest of it, just not for us. We don't have an imagination, so it doesn't work very well for us. But there is some great games out there to check out at the moment. But thank you for watching this top 10 as always, and we look forward to buying more things in another couple of weeks.
Yes.
Bye for now.
Bye.